So we'll begin with our week 6. This is in continuation of the topic of karma, right? Destiny and karma and all that. So we have done part 1 previously, and this is part 2. I will do a quick recap before we go on. But before that, we offer some prayers in invoking auspiciousness. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chaksurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manodrishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vigna Vinasha Narasimhaiti Namini Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Mangayitim Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Mishwaram. That's it. So welcome back again, everybody. So we are discussing karma, or understanding destiny, and this is part 2. Right. So let's recap a little. So previously, we talked about one of the main points that I wanted to pass in the previous one was we need to understand that every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? This we know from the laws of physics. It's the laws of this material creation. Even scientists understand this. So based on that, physics works. You do something, there is certainly going to be a reaction. So that is there. But this reaction in the laws of karma, there are 2 important points. One point is we have to understand that it is not finished at the time of death. So since we are the soul, not the body, and therefore we take different births. Just like we go about our lives, right? We change different clothing. So just because we change our clothes, does that mean that whatever I've done previously is now finished with the clothes which I have changed? No. If I have done a bank robbery 2 days ago and then I've changed my clothes, right? So it doesn't mean that the justice for that bank robbery will not come after me. It will still come after me even though I've changed my clothes. So it's similarly, at the time of death, we take a new birth, a new body. So the justice which is still not fully met out in our previous life continues within our current life. So therefore, fundamental to this understanding of why bad things happen to good people or why good things happen to bad people is, number one, we have to understand that justice takes time. Why? It's not necessarily it takes time. It depends on the type of activity. Like, for example, we go to the opposite neighbor, we call the opposite neighbor and we slap the opposite neighbor. What will happen to us? Will it take time? The reaction? Will the reaction come after 1 year? No. Either the neighbor will slap you back or they will lodge a police report, and within a few days you will get your reaction, right? So, but some things will take time to fructify. So in the same way, karma is like this. You throw some plants, some, like, lalang, weeds and all that, they grow very fast from the seeds. But some plants like mango tree or durian tree or rambutan tree, these things takes time. You throw the seed on the ground, it may take years before it grows, and then it grows into a tree, and then it bears fruit, and then you get to eat it. So it takes time. So some actions show results very quickly. Some actions, majority of the actions, take time for us to see the result. So therefore, we have karma in the form of a seed. In this, we sow the karma, the seeds of karma on the ground, right? And then it comes as a seed, it comes as a tree, a flowering, and then eventually fruit. So therefore, we talked about how there are 4 levels of karma. So the first level is kutam. Kutam means the proclivity, the inclination, the impressions in our mind, which we have carried forward from our previous many lives. We all have some impressions. Like, some every child is born with certain personality, certain set of tendencies, likes and dislikes, right? Some children, they like to sleep in the morning, some children don't, some people like the sweets, some people don't like sweets. So like that, there are different proclivity, tendencies, likes, desires. It's there. So that's kutam. It's coming from our previous life. And then waiting, these tendencies are waiting for a chance to take root. When the right opportunity comes, then those certain desires or tendencies or ideas will start to manifest. So when it starts to, when the opportunity arises, then this kutam, which is like the proclivity and all, it becomes what is called bijam. The seeds of the karma, which you're going to reap from your desire, is already there in the heart, waiting for it to sprout. So in the right environment, in the right situation, opportunities will be there. Like some people, it's a matter of environment. Like if a child is brought up in a certain environment, then that particular environment, like twins, you see. So twins are rather similar in many in situations. But sometimes when they get into environment like school or whatever, they may have a slightly different environment. And over there, you will see certain tendencies manifest in one twin and a certain tendency manifest in a different twin, right? So that's kutam, bijam. So these are all the beginnings of karma until it comes to the point of phalan. Phalan means fruit. So it takes time, it grows, and then finally the fruit comes. Then only we will experience the result of the karma which we sowed. We experience during the harvest, right? We experience the joy of our fruits of our labor, which we have sowed, right? We sow the seeds in the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year, during harvest time, we experience it. So in the same way, karma also, we sow the karma, and it takes time before we experience them. Some may take months, some may take years, some may even take lifetimes for those karma to catch up with us. So when it catches up with us, when we are experiencing it, when we are going through that karma, then it's too late. So nothing can be done at that time. So that is called Prarabdha, right? So for example, what is Prarabdha? Prarabdha means we have our whatever stock of intelligence, beauty, capabilities, memory, all these things are Prarabdha. According to our karma, we have got a certain type of body, a certain type of physical beauty, or a certain type of intelligence, or a certain type of different attributes, a certain family which we are born into, right? So these kind of things one cannot change. So that is Prarabdha. We are experiencing it already. If we have got this certain situation, that means we are already experiencing this. This is called fruitive. Fruit fully bears fruit. The karma has already borne fruit, and we are tasting that fruit. So this is how it goes, and this is what we discussed previously, right? So that explains why good people sometimes suffer. So it's not because that it's unfair. It is basically they are reaping the benefits or the ill effects of their previous activities. And every activity is recorded. There is nothing which is not recorded. Every single thing bears fruit. Sometimes we know, sometimes we don't know. Unknowingly, we may have killed so many creatures or caused so many creatures to be killed, right? Or unknowingly, we may have caused hurt or harm in different ways, right? So in collectively or singly, right? So these things carry forth slowly, and it bears fruit after some time. Okay, so that's recap what we did last week. So if you like to have more detail on these particular points, you can refer back to the recording of the first part. So we will go straight to the other topics of karma. So just now I mentioned Prarabdha, right? So another way of looking at this karma is in this way. So broadly, here we are going to talk about destiny a bit. So are we trapped? Is there a way for us to make changes? So broadly, karma can also be categorized into 3 classifications. One is called Prarabdha. So Prarabdha, we already understood. Just now I mentioned, right? Prarabdha means it's what we are already experiencing. It's very difficult for us to change what we are already experiencing. We have a certain destiny is already put us in a certain position. It's bound to go in a certain direction, right? So that is Prarabdha karma. And then there is something Aprarabdha karma. Prarabdha means manifest. It's already working on us now. Aprarabdha means it's the opposite of that. Aprarabdha means it's not yet manifest. That means it's like a stock. So imagine the scenario of an archer. Now, this is a common example given to explain karma. Now, this archer, according to his past activities, he has got this birth as an archer. He was born as a Kshatriya and then grew up and then learned archery. He got this proclivity to learn archery. He likes doing it due to all his previous, the karma has put him in this situation. And he has this bow, so he has become an archer. So the bow, his mental setup, all these things is Prarabdha karma. So he's got this situation. Now he has arrows. So what is Aprarabdha? Aprarabdha is now whatever that he has in his quiver. So he can do many things now in this situation. So he can, whatever that he has in his quiver means it's where he keeps the arrows. So this is called Prarabdha. So he hasn't taken out these arrows yet, but it's there in his stock, right? Remember just now I mentioned Kutam, Bijam, right? So the Kutam and the Bijam, the Kutam is this arrows inside the, what do you call, quiver. And not only the Kutam, got so many other things previously from the past. So the sum of all accrued karmas since time immemorial. So ever since we came to this material creation at one point of time, whatever karma that we have been collecting all the while, right? Some of them we have already burnt it, we have experienced it and we have burnt it off. But our lifetimes, we go through many activities. Every single activity, we are collecting some form of karma. So they are all collecting, sitting inside the quiver, waiting to manifest. So this is called Prarabdha karma. So the scriptures describe that Prarabdha karma is actually very huge. We have so much of baggage of karma due to our many lifetimes. So it's there, waiting for us to experience. And that includes also the karma in the form of kutam. That means just the impression. We haven't even done anything, but we have a certain inclination to do something. We have a certain bent of mind to want to do something. So that is kutam. And then as kutam becomes stronger, it becomes bijam, tendencies. The desires, they transform into tendencies. One is automatically having a tendency to do such things, just like the archer, right? Desire, when the child is a boy, he wanted to be an archer. So desire, kutam. And then he became trained as an archer. He took it up and then he trained himself as an archer. So now automatically he has the tendencies of the archer, bijam, right? But he hasn't done anything yet, right? So he's an archer, right? And he has all these things. So all this is part of the Prarabdha karma. Okay. So now in this Prarabdha karma, what is Prarabdha? Karma destined to play in our present lifetime. Now out of these mountains of karma, which is in the quiver, not everything will take place in this life. A token of it will be taken out, which we will play during our present life. And then the remainder will play in our future lives. You know, there are some sins or some punya which the results is felt many lifetimes. You know, have you heard of people say 7 generations of, like Masuri? Masuri gave a curse, right? For 7 generations, Lankavi will become barren and everything. So like that. So it sometimes goes through several generations, several lifetimes. So some only is taken for this lifetime. So what is going to manifest in this lifetime? That is called Prarabdha karma. So not some of these desires, thousands and thousands of desires are in the heart. But not all of these desires may bloom into bijam. Not all of them may manifest into seeds. Depends on our situation and our other things, other factors, right? So some of these desires will become seeds and they turn into Prarabdha karma. And then what happens? Okay, now we have discussed this bow and this arrow. This arrow, one of the arrows he has taken out and he has put on this bow and he's now aiming that particular arrow. So now what happens? The bija is about to become phalan. The moment he shoots this arrow, that arrow will become phalan. He will experience the result. So therefore, we have the third thing. The third thing is called kriyamana karma. Kriyamana karma are like these arrows which are being shot. One by one, he is being shot. So what are these? Kriya Mana Karma. Kriya Mana Karma simply means fresh new karma. We are creating new karma. Like for example, I've got this body, I've got these desires, I've got these tendencies, and I've got the means to do it, right? I've got the number of arrows and the means and the ability and the capability and the inclination, everything is there ready for me to do it. But do I do it? So that's the point. If I do it, which direction am I going to do it? Am I going to do, for example, am I going to shoot the arrow on this bullseye over here, or am I going to shoot the arrow on an animal which is flying nearby, or am I going to shoot the arrow on a person who is walking nearby, or am I going to shoot the arrow on an enemy, someone who I don't like, or am I going to shoot the arrow at a bully, a person who is bullying innocent people? Or am I going to shoot an arrow at a criminal who is trying to cause harm to others? So these are all different activities which are waiting for this archer to shoot. So according to his desires, his tendencies, he may be leaning in a certain way. Okay, so this Kriya Mana Karma is the decisions which he makes. So according to the decisions which he makes, he shoots this arrow, and accordingly he gets his new karma. So the new karma is like the seed enters into the baggage of the Prarabdha. This entire thing enters into the Prarabdha. Some may manifest very quickly within this lifetime. Some will manifest within a few minutes, within a few days, within a few months, within a few years. Some will manifest after a few lifetimes. So like this, we are continuously acquiring new and new karma, which is topping up. As we are burning our Prarabdha karma, we are getting new fresh karma to enter into our quiver. So this is what's happening. Now, in all these things, where comes the choice? So the choice is there, right? So this choice is called agami. So we do have free choice, free will. But this free will is somewhat limited. So I'll talk about that in a while, but it is there. So for example, in this example, what the archer chooses to do with his arrow is his choice. Due to his Prarabdha karma, he's got this body of an archer. He's got a bow, right? He had a desire as a boy to become an archer, and then he worked on it, tendencies, and then now he becomes very good. He has a bow, he has a quiver, he's trained, and now he's ready to shoot. Now, what he does with this capability, what he does with this setup, what he does with his activities, that is his choice. So that's agami. Agami means free will. But this free will is also, to some extent, controlled by desire and tendency. Now, I may have free will, right? I may have free will, but if my desire is very strong, and if I have a certain desire, and I'm such a person that I want to always think about my desire, and then I strengthen that desire and it becomes tendency, it becomes very strong. So then my free will is sort of, to some extent, affected by these desires and the tendencies. Now, where does this desire and tendencies sit? The desires and tendencies, they sit in our mind. So that's why spiritual knowledge is very important, to control the mind. Because if we can control the mind, then our agami becomes non-disturbed. It becomes free of the influence of these desires and tendencies. And on top of that, spiritual knowledge gives knowledge, jnana. With jnana, we can understand what should be done and what should not be done. But sometimes we may have knowledge, but our mind is not controlled. Our mind is very strong. Even though we know it's wrong, we still may want to do something because our mind is weak. Sometimes we give excuses, sometimes we will build justifications for ourselves, sometimes we will surround ourselves with illusion, sometimes we will just choose to be ignorant, ostrich. So like that, there are different strategies which human beings can take in order to ignore knowledge and to satisfy his desires and tendencies. So therefore, spiritual practice comes into place where it strengthens the mind so that we can learn to say no to desires and tendencies in favor of higher knowledge in order to guide our arrow in the right direction so that we do not create problems for ourselves in the future, right? This is the idea behind this. To the extent one is controlled by the three modes, the more we are in the mode of goodness, the more our agami is stronger, our free will. It's less stronger if we are in the mode of passion. And it is extremely weak, almost non-existent. The free will is almost not there when we are in the mode of ignorance. Sometimes we have this tendency, we feel like, I know it's wrong, but then I don't know what to do. I'm rushing towards disaster. Like how the moth sees other moths entering into fire and dying, but the moth cannot control itself. It still enters into the fire. It's attached. Same like the fish. The fish is also constantly, it sees other fishes being hooked, being caught in the net by the bait, but still the fish wants to go for that. So in the same way, this is also the case. So now we understand Prarabdha karma, which is the manifest karma which we have. What is Prarabdha karma? We have this body, we are born in this particular family, we have got this particular eyesight, our particular senses, it all works in a certain way. And then we have certain relationships with different people. We've got this types of intelligence, our type of memory. So all this is Prarabdha karma. This is like the facilities or the type of hardware that we have got in this life. Our Prarabdha, this is from the past. It's all waiting. It's all waiting to manifest. Some of it has already manifested. Some of it is sitting in the form of desire and tendencies to manipulate our mind. And then we have a choice, agami. What do? We can either choose to do right or we can choose to do wrong, provided that we know what is right and what is wrong. So that is called, and when we do that, when we make this decision, that is our choice, free will, it is called agami. And due to that free will, we create an action, and that action is kriyamana karma, new karma. Whether it is good or whether it's bad, it's new karma, which will go and fall back into our prarabdha karma, into the quiver. So this is where human life is very important, because in animal life, they do not have knowledge. So they are in the mode of ignorance. And because they have no higher knowledge, they do not know what is dharma. You cannot teach a dog or a cat or a lion about dharma. They will not know. They do not know morality. They only know their instincts. So animals, therefore, do not go through karma. Plants, lower life forms, they don't go through karma. They burn their karma. Their very life itself, it's basically prarabdha. They've got that certain form, lower life form, due to their bad karma. So they are burning that bad karma off. But they do not get new kriyamana karma. In lower life forms, the kriyamana karma or the fresh karma is not there. It's closed. This is for animals and plants and all the lower life forms. So only in human form, this kriyamana karma comes. So this is the karma kshetra. This bhuloka, especially human birth, is called karma kshetra, which is the place for us to create. And why is human birth special? So therefore, the real purpose of human life. In human form of life, we have got developed intelligence to discriminate between right and wrong and lead responsible lives. So this is not there in animal life, only in human life. So that is our purpose of our intellect, to differentiate dharma, right, wrong dharma and bad dharma. Our superior intellect is not meant to have superior eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. Because if you actually see the animals and the human beings, they have 4 activities in common: eating or trying to eat, mating, having reproduction, sexual intercourse, and all that, sleeping, and also defending and fighting and fearing. So defending is also fearing. They all fear. Animals fear, humans also fear. So our intellect is not meant to just simply work on these 4 things alone. That is not the purpose this intellect is given for human beings. Otherwise, might as well be a human animal. Because if it's eating, the pig can eat better than us. It can eat everything, and it thinks that everything is wonderful. So it doesn't discriminate. Human beings are very fussy, right? We are so fussy about what we like, what we don't like. And on top of that, we can only eat that much only. No matter how hungry we are, we will say, I can eat a horse, I can eat an entire forest. But actually, no. Our stomachs are very, very small. And even that also, as we are growing older, we will get, indigestion, gastric. So the pig doesn't have any of these problems. It is indiscriminate. It can eat anything and everything, and it enjoys eating everything and everything. And there is no problem. So like that, what about sleeping? If we think that we enjoy sleeping, we need special arrangements for sleeping. Little bit the weather becomes hot, we don't like it. Then otherwise, we need a soft mattress or whatever. But the animals, they just sleep on the ground. And they enjoy sometimes, a lot. In fact, many times, they enjoy better sleep than many of us do. As we grow older, even the best mattress, even the best rooms or whatever cannot give us good sleep. So, and as far as, mating, like again in the animal kingdom, they don't need elaborate arrangements. Very easily, they just meet opposite sex, and then they just indulge in it in the street, in public. They don't need a fancy hotel room with a honeymoon, with a honeymoon suite or whatever. They don't need any of these things. It's easier for them, and it's free. It's much easier, and they enjoy it better also. Even scientifically, they have shown. And as far as defending, right? We produce so many things. We learn how to fight and everything. But the cobra, the greatest boxer, can stand in front of the cobra, and the cobra will just kill the boxer, or the lion, or the tiger. So they all have natural abilities. So this is our superior intellect is not to develop missiles and all these things. It's basically the same activity, isn't it? So what differentiates is the activity. So there should be a higher activity, dharma, that is missing in the animal life. So now, before I go further, I'd like to tell a story which is very instrumental in our next understanding of a point in karma. So this is a story about King Nirga. Now, this King Nirga, he lived many, many thousands of years ago. Okay, before I talk about that, I will just tell one day what happened was this happened with Lord Krishna. This was a pastime described in Srimad Bhagavatam. How Lord Krishna, when he was in Dwaraka, he was with all the princes and the kings in Dwaraka. And then one day they decided to go for a picnic. At this time, Krishna already was married to all the queens in Dwaraka. And he had children. With each queen, he had 10 children. And with each child, the child had 10 further grandchild. So like that, he had children and he had grandchildren already by that time. This is Krishna. And this dynasty, the family of Krishna there, they were called the Yadu Dynasty, or the Vrishnis. So one day, the Yadu Dynasty, they were going for a picnic. the younger boys, the younger children, the grandchild, and the sons of Krishna, they were all going for picnic, and Krishna was also there. And while the younger grandchild, particularly the grandson of Krishna, he is called, one of them, he is called Samba, and Pradyumna is another one. So they were playing ball. And when they were playing ball, this ball flew and it fell into a well. And when the boys went to look for the ball in the well, they could not, the well was very deep, but what they saw in the well amazed them. Inside, they saw an amazing looking lizard. This lizard was sitting in the well, and the ball was with the lizard. And this lizard wasn't ordinary. It was very beautiful. Its scales were like gems on its body, and it was very beautifully, very, very beautiful looking. But still, it was a lizard, lah. You know, lizard is still a lizard. So they thought, and the lizard was trying to escape from the well. It looked very pathetic. Despite its beauty and everything, it looked very thin. It didn't have any food, and it was desperate to come out of the well. It will climb the well, but then it will fall again. So this is happening all the time. So the boys, Samba and Pradyumna, they took pity out of this lizard, and they thought, okay, let me help this lizard out. So they tried to, in various ways, they tried to save the lizard, and they also wanted to get the ball. But somehow all their efforts failed. Some kind of mysticism was going on, and this lizard, each time they touched the lizard will not be able, they couldn't save the lizard for some reason. And they couldn't get the ball also. So then they went to Lord Krishna, who was there, and then they told their grandfather, oh, you know, the ball fell into the well. Can you please help us? So Lord Krishna came, and then he saw the lizard, and he knew everything already. But still, he just went and reached his hand and touched the lizard. The moment he touched the lizard immediately transformed into a beautiful, shining, celestial personality, into a heavenly person. So, and then this heavenly devata kind of a person, he spoke to Krishna. Oh, my Lord, thank you so much for saving me from this situation, from this curse. Actually, I'm not a curse, I'm this situation of my karma. And then Lord Krishna, he knew everything, but nevertheless, you know, Leela, pastimes. So therefore, he told the celestial person, please tell me who you are and everything. Tell us your predicament, tell us your story. And then the personality, he said, oh, you are the Supreme Lord and everything. And then he offered some prayers to Krishna and said, you know everything, but still you're asking me, so therefore I will tell you. So I was once the famous King Nirga. So King Nirga, and he said, this happened many thousands of years ago. And at that time, I was the king of the world, and I was very prosperous, and I was very much attached to doing my dharma very well. So I had great ministers, great brahmanas who were very well versed in the scriptures, who were there advising me. Now, to be a king is to take up great responsibility. Even to be a leader, to be a king, a leader of any type, is to take up responsibility. And the larger the responsibility is, the higher the, when something happens, the blame goes to the person who's responsible, isn't it? So they have to shoulder the blame. So all the more is the king. For the king, it is described that the king will shoulder the there's a portion, I can't remember exactly the portion, but he actually shoulders a certain percentage of the karma of all his citizens. That is the responsibility of the king. And at the same time, the king has to be very careful. So, and he employed his ministers to advise him. And what he would do every day, he would do so many charitable acts. He will perform all the wonderful things. He will take care of his citizens very well. And he performs a lot of charity. So this King Nirga was very, very famous for his charity. So then he will describe how he used to give charity. So what he did, he used to give cows to Brahmanas. Now, amongst all charity, it is described that in Karma Kandala, in the Karma Kanda charity section, amongst all the charity that one can give, the giving of cows is very great. And amongst giving of cows, one should give cow to a suitable person. And of all suitable persons, the Brahmana is the most suitable person. So to give cows to Brahmanas is one of the highest charities one could give. But this king, he didn't give only one cow, he gave 10,000 cows every day. So the land was very rich with cows in those days. So he used to give them daily, and not just any cow. He would not give ordinary cows. He would give the best breed, the best quality. And not only that, he would make sure that each cow he gave was of prime age, that he ensured that that cow was very young, that had just given birth to only one calf, and it was full of milk, and the cow was also of a peaceful nature, and it was fully healthy. So out of these 10,000 cows that he gave, he ensured the cows were all having this quality. So imagine the amount of so anyway, so and this was the quality of the charity that he was giving. And all these cows were purchased with money which was earned legally. So this charity also was given with legal, halal charity. So it was not improperly taken wealth. The wealth was properly earned, and out of this wealth, it was given with charity. And on top of that, the cows, the horns were gold plated, the hooves were silver plated, and the cows on top of that were each of the cows, they all had necklaces of pearls, and they were wrapped with silk, the best Kanchipuram silk that we can find. So in those days, they were wrapped with that kind of, and those silks were inlaid with mother of pearls and jewels. So this was the caliber of charity that the king used to give daily. So in this way, he was giving, and one day it happened that there were two Brahmanas. One Brahmana, he already gave a set of cows. But what happened was, he would invite the Brahmanas to come to his kingdom, and they will all wait in line, and then they will collect their cows, and they will temporarily keep them in a shelter, and then later the next day they will leave the kingdom and bring their cows. So one of the Brahmanas, the king already gave his word, and he promised, and he already gave the cows. So the cows were all sitting in a shed. But one of these cows, she wandered about and entered into a shed of another Brahmana. So, and then it remained over there. Now, the first Brahmana, the Brahmana A, who received the cow, he noticed that this one particular cow was missing, and it had entered into another Brahmana's shed. And then he went to the other Brahmana and he told, this is my cow. My cow has actually come to your shed. So please return back the cow to me. And then the other Brahmana, he didn't agree. He thought that this is my cow. The king gave it to me legally. How is it you're saying that this is your cow? So none of them knew that the cow had actually grazed about and entered into this other person's Brahmana. Both also thought that this is his own cow. So like that, they were arguing, and then they decided to, okay, let us not argue. Let us bring it to the king to decide. He's the king, let him decide. So when they brought it to the king said, okay, I'm so sorry. This cow must have wandered over to the other Brahmana's shed. Please accept my apologies. I will give you another set of 10,000 cows. But then the first Brahmana said, how is this? You promised to give me this cow, and now you are not returning this cow back to me. You are breaking your promise. Never mind that you are saying that you're giving me a recompense. that you are going to give me another set of 10,000 cows. You may give me another set of 10,000 cows, but you have broken your word. So therefore, in those days, the truthfulness was very strong. Brahmanas were very, very truthful, and the king was also expected to be very, very truthful. So the Brahmana said, I cannot, and I have taken a vow that I will not take more charity than necessary. So if I have received this charity in one day, I will not receive it again. So the Brahmana said like that. And then the king was like, oh dear, what can I do? And then he asked the other Brahmana, can you return this cow to him? Can you at least give this cow to him? And I will give you different set of cows. But the other Brahmana also said, he thought that cow was already given to him. So he said, no, I also cannot accept second charity. I have also taken the vow that I can only accept one charity in a day, because taking too much will give rise to greed, and we are against that. So we don't want this. And in this way, neither Brahmana decided to accept the charity, the second charity, and they all left. So then what happens was, this king, he actually became guilty of not keeping his word. He actually became guilty of not satisfying the Brahmana. He also became guilty of what you call taking back the property of a Brahmana, because he already gave one cow to the first Brahmana, but then the cow didn't remain with that Brahmana. It became the property of the second Brahmana. So the fault was on the king, that he had taken it away. So that was such the responsibility of the king. The king was, that kind of responsibility was there. So the king went on with his life. He tried to do many other things. But one day at the time of death, the Yamadutas came and they brought the king to Yamaraj and they asked him, okay, you have done so many wonderful activities in your life, and so much of punya karma is awaiting you. And at the same time, there are also some sinful activities here and there. So which one do you want to experience first? Do you want to experience the punya karma first, the results of your pious activities, or do you want to experience the result of your sinful activities? And then the king was thinking, I have done, by that time he had forgotten all this episode with the cows. So he thought that I have done so many good activities. I have only followed whatever the Brahmanas have said. Surely I have so much of good activities that I need to clear. All right. So let me experience my sinful qualities first. I don't think I have done so many bad things. Let me get this out of the way. Let me experience this, the punishment for those sinful activities first, and then I can safely enjoy the punya karma results nicely. So he thought this way, let me experience my sinful activity first. Because usually it's the other way around. Usually the souls who go to Yamaraj, they will experience their results of their punya karma first, and then only they will experience the results of their sinful karma. But because this king was so pious, he was given a choice. He can even choose which one he wants to experience. So he chose to experience his sinful activity. And immediately he took birth as this lizard. And Yamaraj told him, this was the reason that you became a lizard, because you became guilty of cheating a Brahmana. And this is the punishment of those who cheat in your position as the king. But due to your wonderful punya karma, you had a wonderful body amongst lizards. You became the greatest of lizards. But still, you had to go through this. And because of your many, many, many wonderful activities, you will go through this life for thousands of years, but you will get the opportunity to see face to face the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna himself, who will deliver you from this. So in this way, King Nirga recounted his story to Krishna. And as soon as Krishna touched Nirga, Nirga got back his, heavenly body. Now he is about to enjoy his heavenly punya karma. But still, Nirga, he thought, thank you very much, but I have now gotten your darshan. Please bless me that I may return back to your lotus feet. So then Krishna smiled and blessed Nirga, and in this way it ended. So this story is very interesting because it tells us a few things. Now, before I go into those points, I just want to mention this particular verse. This verse is from the Bhagavad-Gita 4:17. Karmano ahi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanas cha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. So it means the intricacies of action are very hard to understand. So therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So karma, vikarma, and akarma. So these things we need to understand very carefully. Why carefully? Because the intricacies are very hard to understand. Just like how the king Nirga, though he was so careful, but still he couldn't escape from the sinful part of his activities. So what is the point in this story? I will come to that point in a short while. But first let me talk about action, forbidden action, inaction. We need to know action is punya karma or punya karma, right? Punya karma means actions which are encouraged, which we should do, right? And what is forbidden action? Actions which we should not do. And what is inaction? So these things we have to understand. So from here, if we engage in sinful activities, what are sinful activities? Sinful activities, there are many types of sinful activities, but they are all of them rooted in 4 pillars. So what are these 4 pillars? These are called the 4 pillars of adharma. So, and all types of sins, they spring forth from these 4 pillars of adharma. So the first pillar of adharma is meat eating. Meat eating means, or killing, himsa. It's called himsa. Himsa means to cause pain or to cause problems or to cause hurt or harm to another living entity. So that is the first pillar of adharma. And then the second pillar of adharma is gambling or falsity. So gambling and falsity are together. And the third pillar of adharma is intoxication. So, taking intoxicants, liquor, all these things, drugs. So these are the third pillar of adharma. And the fourth pillar of adharma is illicit sexual relationships. So these are the 4 pillars of adharma. So from these 4, every type of sin will manifest from it. And this according to scripture. And if we engage in these, particularly these 4 pillars of adharma, then we will accrue karmic reactions. We will collect, we will start getting karmic reactions, we will collect them, and some of it we will experience in this life, and some of it we will go through in difficulties in afterlife, like hellish planets and all these things. If somebody is extremely sinful, then after this birth they go to hell, and in hell, in Nirga, they go through various types of sufferings designed to clear the karma away. And even then, after that, they may degrade to lower life forms. So not everybody goes to hell. Very, very sinful people, they do go to hell. But if they don't go to hell and they accrue a lot of sinful activity, then they may degrade to lower life forms. Just like King Nirga, he had to suffer his sinful activity, so he became a lizard. So, for example, people who are too much addicted to eating indiscriminately, then they become pigs in their next life. Those who are too much addicted to sexual activities, then they become dogs or pigeons or pigs in their next life, like that. So there are different, according to their proclivity, according to their karma. It's very complicated, but it's very carefully measured. So this is all very detailedly described, especially the sufferings in hell. They are all very detailedly described in various literatures. You can find them in Garuda Purana. You can also find them in Srimad Bhagavatam, where the different types of hells are described. And then you can also find them in here and there, a bit in Mahabharata, some stories, some in Ramayana stories. Even in Christianity, you will find, even the Abrahamic religions, you will find these concepts. So this is basically, and here I have a verse from Bhagavad-Gita 15.9. The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. Remember, the mind is where the desires and the proclivity and the inclination come. And in this way, they get a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch. According to his karma, he thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. So that's what happens. Now, if we engage in pious activities, punya karma, so these are the do's, right? And what are these punya karmas based on? They are also based on the 4 pillars. So just like we have sinful activities, 4 pillars, we have the punya karma, which are 4 pillars. So what are these 4 pillars? The 4 pillars are 4 pillars of Dharma. Now Dharma is described like a bull, and the earth is described like a cow. So father Dharma and mother cow, or father bull and mother earth, like that. So Dharma, the bull, stands on 4 legs. And the 4 legs are Satyam, Tapa, Daya, and Saucham. So these are the 4 legs of Dharma. Every other aspect of Dharma springs from these 4. And all of them are ultimately rooted in Satyam, truthfulness. So from truthfulness, there will be like that, what destroys, but there are 4 things. The 4 sinful activities destroy the 4 legs. So Satyam is destroyed by gambling and untruthfulness. Tapa, discipline, is destroyed by intoxication. Saucham is destroyed by illicit sexual activities and thoughts. And Daya, compassion, is destroyed by himsa, meat eating and killing and causing harm. So therefore, and those who dedicate their lives in upholding these 4 pillars of Dharma, what happens to them? So just like King Nirga, after clearing his bad karma, he is bound to the heavenly planets of Indraloka. So Bhagavad-Gita 9.20 says, purified of sinful reactions, just like King Nirga, what will happen? They take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. So that is if they are dedicated to that extent. Yeah, so it depends. So why are some people born in rich families, some people born beautiful, some people born very intelligent, some people born with all good qualities, everything there? It's because they have deserved it from their previous life. So they are now given these opportunities in their current life. But that's just in this world. It's even possible to go beyond this world, to go to even higher planets. If somebody has been very, they have done great pious activities according to scripture, then they would actually take birth in, not forget about this world, they will enjoy great delights in the heavenly planets, in Indraloka, in Bhuvarloka, in Indraloka, different lokas. So, and they will enjoy for a long time. Oops, sorry, wait a minute. Okay, they will enjoy for a long time. But Bhagavad-Gita says, when they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted. So it's possible to exhaust the pious activities results. After they've enjoyed, finally the bank balance goes back to zero. Then what happens? Then they return to this mortal planet again. So Krishna says again, they take birth in this karma kshetra. They fall down from heaven. The process of that fall down is also very painful. So it is described, the Devata knows when he's going to fall down. He doesn't know the precise moment, but he knows when. So throughout his stay, he knows when that day is going to come. And suddenly he will be pulled and he will fall down and he will cry because he has left such wonderful delights in heaven. And he will fall and he will come down in the form of rain, and in this way enter the earth and enter into the grains, and from the grains eaten by man, and in this way become semen, and then enters into the womb of the mother, and then in this way takes birth on earth. So this is all described. So it said in the Brahma Samhita, everybody from the heavenly king Indra down to the insect Indragopa is bound by the laws of karma. So even King Indra is bound by karma. Even Indra cannot be Indra forever. After many lifetimes, after many years, heavenly years, even Indra has to let go his position and come back to earth. So it happens. Of course, that depends also whether he comes back to earth or not. If he's very fortunate, he may go back to Godhead. But one who is wholeheartedly engaged in Bhakti Yoga to Govinda is an exception. So even Indra may get that exception. So this is Brahma Samhita 5.4. So in the end, either way, if one is suffering in hell or one is enjoying in heaven, what happens? Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to principles of the three Vedas. So if someone follows whatever the Vedas say carefully, they perform punya very carefully, right? Or if they go against the Vedas, they perform papa, sin. Either way, in the end, what happens? In the end, they only go through repeated birth and death. So it's simply a matter of whether you're taking a higher species or a lower species. But they go through this again and again and again and again and again and again and again. Now, let us try to understand this point of karma again from the story of King Nirga and also from what we have discussed here. So from here we can understand very important point that there are two accounts in karma. It's not just one account. There are two accounts. Account one is punya karma. What are these punya karma? Just now I mentioned satyam, saucham, tapa, daya. All those activities which are mentioned in the do's in the scripture according to our duty and everything, which is springing from these four pillars of Dharma. So if we do these things, then we get punya karma. Okay, that goes into account one. And at the same time, there is also account two. Just a moment. Okay. At the same time, there is also account two. Account two is called vikarma, forbidden activities. Forbidden activities result in sin, papam. And these are coming from mainly gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, and ahimsa, meat eating, and things like that. So from here we can understand there are two accounts. Just because we are performing satyam, we are doing a lot of saucham, we are very careful about our austerities, we are very merciful, we are very pious, and all these things we do, it doesn't cancel the sin of the account 2. So account 1 doesn't cancel account 2, and account 2 doesn't cancel account 1. So this is an important point. So both are there. For whatever good that we do, we will enjoy the good. For whatever bad we do, we will suffer the bad. So both has to be undergone, and sometimes they are separated and sometimes they are mixed. So in one's life, one may go through ups and downs. So therefore there is positive. So look at it this way, it's like positive and negative. They don't cancel each other though. So it has to be experienced separately. Each of these things has to be experienced separately. But are there exceptions? Yes, there are exceptions. We will discuss the exceptions in our next, in our next session next week. But before I go into that, let me just finish this part off. So for one who is not renounced, the threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, see, accrue after death. This is Bhagavad-Gita 18:12. So Krishna is saying, sometimes people will enjoy the fruits of their desirable action. Sometimes they will suffer the fruits of their undesirable action. And sometimes it is mixed. And all these things, they will start experiencing after they die in their next life. So not all of them, some will experience in this life itself, but majority will be in the next life. What's happening in this life is due to the karma from our past life. What we do in our current life will decide what we are going to get in our next life. That's how it works. So it's like a Ferris wheel, you know. So in a Ferris wheel, if we are sitting in one of these carriages, sometimes the Ferris wheel goes down. Now, if this carriage goes underwater, that means we are suffering our reactions. But suddenly the Ferris wheel comes up, then we are enjoying. So sometimes we are enjoying as Indra, sometimes we are enjoying as rich people, sometimes we are enjoying as beautiful people, powerful people, intelligent people, any of these things, strong, good health, all these are good karma, right? Having good health, good intelligence, good relationships, good family members, good society, good career. So like that, there are many spheres of life, and we may have good positive reactions. So that is coming from our punya karma. But we also have negative going. Sometimes we have bad, bad situations, all that. So it's like always going up and down, up and down, up and down. So from here we can understand karma is complex. It is not very cut out. It's not very straightforward. It's not that you do this means, it's not that you slap me means I must get slapped. It works in different ways. What karma will do, karma will ensure that universal justice is kept. That means justice. If somebody has gone through a certain suffering, that justice will come back again. In some way, somehow, in some situation, it will revisit back. And it is also depending on many other factors. So karma is also controlled by desire. So what happens in our next life, there are two factors which control what happens in our next life. One factor is karma, another factor is desire. So for example, someone may desire so much to drive a very posh car, right? Somebody may have great desire to drive a posh car. In his whole life, he never had the chance to drive a posh car, okay? So then when he died, in his next life, he had the desire, but his karma was such that what the karma did, the karma made him take birth as a goldfish. And this goldfish was sitting in an aquarium in a shop. And then one day a boy came into the shop and he bought this goldfish in a bowl, and he entered it, and he carried the bowl, and he sat in a beautiful Mercedes Benz. And then the goldfish and the bowl and the boy were driven a long distance in the beautiful Mercedes Benz, and then they reached home. So you can see how karma works. He may have had that desire, but because in his life he did not perform properly, he got a lot of sins, so his karma did not allow him to enjoy that desire to his full extent. But the desire did guide him in a certain way. He did go through the situations. So karma can be very complex. There are many stories. If you want to know about complexity of karma, you can read more of the Puranas, you can read. There are many stories. Bhagavatam is full of stories, Mahabharata, Ramayana. We can understand karma is not easy. It becomes very complex. But I've outlined the basic rules of how karma works, right? And I've mentioned the different categories of karma. We have learned about Prarabdha, Aprarabdha, Kriyamana. Prarabdha is what we are having now in this life. Aprarabdha is what's waiting for us, and also our desires and our inclination and our thinking and our feeling. So like that. And Kriyamana is what we do in this life, which is creating our future birth. So these are the three types of karma categories, right? And then we also mentioned that despite having all this, we still have our choice. For example, I give you a very simple and gross example. We have people nowadays who have, especially these days, we have, the LGBTQ society, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, that type of society. So one may say, I'm born this way, like, Lady Gaga, one of the songs says, I'm born this way. They may say, so you cannot discriminate me like that and everything. Right. So we may be born in a certain way due to our karma. In our previous life and our desire. We had certain desires and we had certain karma. And accordingly, we got this certain body, the type of body that we have, and the type of thinking and mind and inclinations and desire. So that is our Prarabdha. Okay. And our desires and inclinations are there, our Prarabdha, waiting to manifest. Now, we have a choice, Kriyamana. Are we going to indulge in certain activities, right? We may decide, okay, if I don't have knowledge, if I don't know what is right and what is wrong, and I have these inclinations in me, then I may indulge in them. But if I'm fortunate to understand what is right and what is wrong, what is sinful and what is not sinful, and to understand the higher purpose of life, then, and with spiritual training, I can control my mind and I can control such desires or such inclinations, and I don't perform such activities, even though this birth is making it very painful for me that I may have such desires, right? You understand? So this way, you see, our choice can still be controlled. We can still use our choice to exercise good decisions based on knowledge and based on training the mind. So that's very important. So it's possible to control our future destination. So punya and papa only perpetuates. So we have seen from the story of King Nirga, right? He first had to suffer as a lizard, then he's enjoying himself as a celestial entity. But after that, he has to again come back to the material world. Again, he has to, come back to the Earth planet. And again, he has to go through, perform his actions and activities. So it goes on and on and on. And we have all done this through millions of lives and millions of births. So punya and papa only perpetuates the samsara cycle, the cycle of birth and death. So how to break free? Can we break free of the cycle of birth and death, of this cycle of karma? Can we break free from repeated birth and death? The answer is a very strong yes. But before I go into detail of the answers, I will just end with this nice verse. This is a verse of hope coming from Bhagavad-Gita 4:37. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all karmic reactions. So it's possible with jnana, knowledge, we can eventually burn all our karmic reactions to ashes. Karma is not eternal. It is temporary within this material world. We can destroy it. But it's not easy. It's rather, as I said before, karma is very complicated. Just like King Nirga, you see, he tried his best in so many ways, but still, somehow he gets trapped. So therefore, Padma Purana says, the Prarabdha karma, the karma which is waiting for us, the Kutta, Bija, and Prarabdha karma in the form of the seed, and the manifested karma in the form of the fruit, all of these karmas, every single karma that we have, different types, different categories, all these karmas can all be destroyed through ... So I will speak about this in more detail in the next session, in our session 3. So we will end here, and if there are any questions, I wanted to okay, it's already 9:20, so I will keep this to the next part. Okay, I will just skip all this and move on to right. So before we end, let us join together and give food to our soul and chant this Maha Mantra. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. That's it. So thank you very much. If there are any questions, we can discuss them, or if there's any clarifications that's required. Otherwise, we can end over here. Anything? Anyone wants to say anything? Any doubts or any points that you want to raise? So I hope it was clear. There are a few other things which we need to discuss on the karma topic, so that we will cover in our next session. Hopefully, we will end the karma topic in that particular session. But in the meanwhile, whatever that we have discussed today and also previously, if it strikes something in your mind, if you have some kind of doubt or some kind of some question raises itself after hearing all these things, don't hesitate. You can always message me, or you can ask, or you can put it in the chat. Sorry, you can put it in, you can put it in the chat, or you can also put it in the WhatsApp, and we can discuss it. Okay, so it's already 9:20. So if there's nothing further anyone wants to say, then we will end today. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you all again the next time. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.